What's up, you beauties? Brendan with Hero Dose Wellness here for yet another yoga flow. Thank you for joining me. Um, yeah, this is a flow that I've been doing for the past few years. I used to do it pretty much just after my long distance runs. I guess kind of thought of this flow is yoga for runners, but ultimately I'm deeming it as a lactic acid yoga flow because ultimately it's not exclusive for runners. This is really a good flow for anybody. Sorry, I'm just coming out of the old catcher squat and taking a knee here. Um, this is a good yoga flow for anybody that engages in any sort of yang activities throughout their day. So again, I just mentioned that it's good for runners. If you do, again, any other kind of yang, strenuous activities, especially involving the legs, whether that be dancing, martial arts, organized sports, whatever it may be, this is a great flow to ultimately, especially immediately after, make sure that you're getting length in these muscles, breathing air into them, and ultimately just setting yourself up for success against kind of soreness that is inevitable after strenuous activity. And then ultimately, you can do this when you are sore, get the lactic acid moving, and then ultimately you can kind of drain it out of your system. Um, so, yeah, we will get into it. I'm currently wearing my Nirvana shirt. It was downpouring this morning, so I just figured I'd go with this for the vibes. But the sun is out now. So, why not? We'll take off the shirt. Take it off, said no one ever. Tarps are coming off for this flow. So I guess with that, as I just took off my Nirvana shirt for today's non sequitur, we will go with what is your favorite grunge band from the 90s? Huge grunge guy. Let's do it. Let's get into it. All right, so we are just going to come to a seated position. Oh, how about this? We're facing the camera for a lot of these poses. Whole different world. All right, so you're just going to come to a seated cross-legged position. You're just going to put your hands right on top of your knees, and we're just going to do some circular rotations. Really ensure that you're rooting down through your sits bones here, but again, just leaning forward and just doing some kind of hip circles here, kind of smushing your knees into the ground as you circle around. We'll do, I don't know, I've already lost track of my counting here. We'll do maybe 8 to 10 repetitions in each direction before we move on to the next piece of this flow. Again, just steady at your own pace, work within your body's limitations, and just start to feel, especially your hips here, starting to open up. All right, take one more rotation in whatever direction you're going. You can go ahead and even switch those legs if you're feeling risky. And then we're just going to repeat that same kind of hip circles here, but just going in the opposite direction. Again, shoot for 8 to 12. I'm probably going to lose track of my counting. We're just going to go until we feel like moving on to the next one. Yeah, just pushing down into this. You can really feel it in your hips and starting to creep into your groin and, just accessing that deeper connective tissue. And as I mentioned, I certainly did lose track of my counting, so we will do one more rotation in this direction here. And then coming back to a neutral seated position. We're no longer going to have our legs crossed. We are going to bring the soles of our feet together, coming into a almost as if it's a butterfly pose. We'll get around to a butterfly, but we're going to start off. Sorry, I've got something in my eye and it's bothering me. All right, we've gotten it out. We're going to do some seated cat-cows ultimately before we move on to the butterflies. So again, soles of your feet together, let gravity do its work, pulling your knees down to the ground, root down through your sits bones, and then lengthening up through the crown of your head. We're going to bring our arms out to the side, palms are up facing the sky. Again, this is a seated variation of the cat-cow. Palms are raised up facing the sky, and then you're just going to lean forward and roll your shoulders to however far or whatever is most comfortable for you. Roll it back. We're going to shoot for maybe about 6 repetitions here. Getting a lot of droplets of rain coming out of the trees despite it being quite sunny. It's kind of refreshing. That's 2. Got 4 more. And that's 4. We are making progress. And last one here on the cat-cow. I think, if my counting is on, my mind is ruminating. It's important to maintain your presence despite external circumstances. That's what I would argue the definition of discipline is. All right, now before we move on to butterfly, we're just going to do some gentle arm circles. So you're just going to interlace your hands, bring them up overhead, palms are facing up towards the sky. Then we're just going to circle them, bring them around in a circle. Let's shoot for 8 times each direction. So here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. You should really feel this in your shoulders and your upper back, mid-back region as well. 5, 6, 7, 8. And now we just reverse the direction. 8 repetitions. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Look at that. Reach your arms up towards the sky. You can bring them down, maybe a little cactus arm action as they come down. And then I promised you we would get to it. We're going to get into the butterfly now. So here, you can go ahead and maybe grab your feet, grab your toes, maybe pushing down on your knees. But again, really focusing on rooting down through your sits bones so you can have a nice, tall, sturdy spine. Grab your feet and then begin to just allow yourself to lean forward. Again, let gravity do its thing, pulling your knees down to the ground. Maybe you even want to take it a step further, and as you're grabbing your feet, you're bringing your elbows into your legs, using your elbows to assist gravity with its work by applying some gentle pressure to help guide your knees closer to the ground. And you should be feeling a real nice stretch in your hips and your groin specifically here. So we're just going to melt into this butterfly stretch for just a few breaths. It was raining so hard this morning. When I finally got back to the house, I was wearing a sweatshirt and sweatpants, and it looked like, and it certainly felt like, I jumped into a swimming pool with all of those layers on, just from how soaking wet I was. And that is certainly not a complaint. That is simply an observation, because there is something that I have come to appreciate about being subjected to all of the elements when outside. So I don't just enjoy it when it's sunny out. I enjoy it just as much when it's rainy out. Finding some sort of appreciation and gratitude for whatever weather Mother Nature decides to grace us with. All right, we'll take one more breath here in butterfly, in this beautiful monarch butterfly position. Slowly allow ourselves to lengthen the spine back up. And we are now going to get into some low lunges. It's funny thinking of the butterfly. Yesterday on our afternoon hike, I watched Swan eat a butterfly out of the air. Now, while I was sad to see such a beautiful specimen of nature no longer exist, it was quite impressive to see Swan catch the butterfly out of the air. All right, low lunge here. Right knee stacks over the right ankle, left leg comes down to the ground, and then we're just going to sink into this stretch. Really feel it in the outside of your right hip here, inside of your left hip here, coming into the groin. If this is enough for you, I invite you to stay right here in the low lunge. If you'd like to take it a step further, you can go ahead, interlace your hands behind your back, pull your shoulders down away from your ears, and then lengthen up through the crown of your head again as you sink forward into the lunge. For a nice low lunge, that gentle mudra. That bird is laughing at me. He thinks the pose I'm in looks funny. All right, we will take one more breath here in the low lunge with the mudra. We're not going too far. We're just going to shift our left knee forward just a bit. So we're going to stack the left knee right underneath the left hip. And then we're going to extend this right leg out so it's nice and straight, coming onto the heel. Here, this is what's called the runner's lunge. We're going to be doing some shifting forward. So I invite you to shift all of your weight forward. Maybe try to press your foot down into the ground. Get a real nice stretch here in your ankles and in the front portion of your calf. And then as you rock back, pulling your toes in towards you. And it just feels like an absolute explosion happening in your calf and then up your hamstring. So we're just going to gently rock back and forth in this runner's lunge. Hopefully you're feeling all sorts of sensations again in your ankles, in your calves, in your hamstrings. Just exploding all of that lactic acid and melting it down. Again, always, always, always connecting with your breath and finding control in these poses. idea here is repair and recovery. We don't want to hurt ourselves. That is why it is so important to connect with our breath and become aware of the sensations in our bodies, especially when it comes to our own limitations. Alright, we will do one more rock here in the runner's lunge. Going forward. Oh, yeah, baby. That's feeling good in the ankle. And then we're just going to pull it back. Now we're going to allow that right foot to come back down onto the mat. Left knee shifts back a few inches. We're going to come back into that low lunge. And again, if this is enough for you, I invite you to stay right in the low lunge. If not, you can go ahead and interlace those hands again. Instead of keeping them straight down your back, you're going to go ahead and make a fist with those hands and bring them to your right hip, adding a little twist, adding a gentle element of rotation into this low lunge on the right side. Again, just sink as deep as you comfortably can into the lunge. Hold here for a few breaths. We'll repeat the sequence on the other side. And we will take one more breath here in the low lunge with the side mudra. If your hands are interlaced, go ahead and release those. Let the palms come down to the mat. Here, nothing crazy. We're simply going to switch sides. I promise we'll mix in a down dog, but we'll get to him. We'll get to him. Down dog, our old friend. It's not going anywhere. We'll catch up with him when the time is right. Low lunge on the left side. Left knee stacks over the left ankle. Right knee, right shin. Top of the right foot comes down to the mat. This is enough. You know the deal. This is plenty enough. That said, if you're feeling frisky, if you want to take it a step further, go ahead and interlace those hands. Drop them down your spine. Pull your shoulders away from your ears. Lengthen up through the crown of your head as you sink forward into the lunge. Find your breath. Although it might not be lost, it is still important for us to find our breath, to know where it is. Favorite grunge band. This is going to be so hard. I love grunge. I was born in the 90s. Maybe that has something to do with it. I like to grow out my long hair. Maybe that has something to do with it. I like rock and roll music. Maybe that has something to do with it. I don't know. But I love to listen to grunge, especially as I am in a low lunge. That's just some free poetry for you as we take one final breath in this low lunge with the mudra. And go ahead and release that interlace. That's funny, my notepad just blew open and it went from the yoga flow that I have sequenced here, and it opened up to my birth chart that I have scribbled down into my notes to commit it to memory I even have all of the symbols and all of the elements too. Birth charts are cool. I'm into astrology and stuff, in case you didn't know. But that's not why you're here. You're here to get stretched out. So we're going to bring that right knee forward so it is stacked underneath the right hip. We're going to extend that left leg out so it's nice and straight, coming on to the heel, or the heel of your left foot. Left leg is nice and straight. And as we did on the right side, we're just going to do that rocking back and forth. And again, just lighting a fire. We're going to be igniting the back side and front side, for that matter, of our left leg. But I'll let you do your thing as I do my thing, as we do our thing here. I'm going to go ahead and just start by rocking forward. Oh, yeah. The action in the ankle. It's like a Quentin Tarantino movie happening in my ankle right now. Kill Bill Volume 1 and 2. Coming back, pulling those toes in. Oh, I can feel my calf and my hamstring just absolutely screaming. Screaming in the best possible way. Screaming as if they were front row at a Pearl Jam concert and got to give Eddie Vedder a high five just before giving a stage dive amidst Pearl Jam rocking out to Even Flow. I'm just creating imagery in my head for no reason. I'm talking your ear off for no reason when you came here to stretch. Alright, we're going to do one more full rotation here. We're going to pull the toes in, and then we're going to extend back out one more time. And again, we're going back to the low lunge for just a quick cup of coffee here, not an extended stay. Low lunge left side, left knee over the left ankle, shift that right knee, right shin back a few inches. Low lunge is fine. If you want to hang out here, you are welcome to do so. But if not, if you're in that kind of a mood, that's me trying to be funny because it's a mudra. You can go ahead and interlace those hands. Make that fist, bring them up to your left side here, your left hip. Adding that gentle rotation as you sink into the lunge here for just a few breaths. I guess specifically thinking about Nirvana, I will say one of my just all-time favorite clips for, a number of reasons, from, I guess, a comical, satirical perspective, but more importantly, I would argue, just a genuine sense of, I agree with the place that he's coming from. It's this clip of Kurt Cobain. I can't remember what talk show he was on, but it's the clip of Kurt Cobain. It's the face he makes when he found out how much Madonna was charging for tickets to her show. And for me, it just showed me what kind of a person I would guess that Kurt Cobain was, that he was a true artist and just trying to spread the sound and spread the vibes, as opposed to, attaching himself to this superficial outcome of fame and fortune and growing his own ego. I'll just leave it at that. It's a great clip. I would encourage you to give it a look. Just the look that overcomes Kurt Cobain. You can tell he was probably a pretty genuine human being. And we'll take one more breath here in the low lunge with the side mudra. And if you have your hands interlaced, you can go ahead and release them. Let the palms come down to the mat. I promised you that we would be meeting up with our old friend, coming into a down dog. Oh yeah, that feels good. Just do whatever variation of down dog feels good for you. Maybe you're just holding it nice and static, creating that pyramid and sinking both heels down towards the mat simultaneously. Or maybe you're adding a little bit of a twist here, focusing on one side at a time, adding a little bit of rotation, and then ultimately shifting your focus to really deepening the stretch and down the backside of each leg individually, one at a time. We'll just take a few breaths here in down dog. And now we're just going to walk, jump, or hop your feet forward to the front of the mat into a nice forward fold. Hands don't necessarily have to come flat down onto the mat, as we are now going to do what is a calf rock. So coming onto the balls of your feet, you're going to lean forward, and then as you lean back, coming onto the heels of your feet, maintaining your balance. Really focus on using your hands to help keep a steady balance. Rocking back and forth, forward onto the balls of your feet, and then backwards onto the heels. Do 8 more repetitions of this. There's 3. Well, 1, 3 total. We're going to shoot for 10 total. There's 4. So I said 8 more, we're going to 10 total. That's where my counting is. There's 5. Should really feel a nice deep stretch in your hamstrings with this one. There's 6. 7. 8. Oh, we only got 2 more. 9. And we will round it out with a nice one here. Everything you got. 10. Alright, I promise we are approaching the end here. We're just going to sneak in maybe a couple more low lunges here. I mean, I say a couple being one on each side, but just coming into another low lunge, right side, right knee stacks over the right ankle, left knee, left shin coming down to the mat. Now here we're just going to do some low lunges with side bends. So from the low lunge, and again, if this is enough for you, I invite you to stay in just the low lunge, but if you'd like to take it a step further, you can go ahead and add the side bend to it. So here on the right side, we're going to take our right hand, we're going to rest it on our right hip, we're going to take our left arm, and we're going to slowly start to bend over the right side body. I'm just going to hold for a few breaths, staring at a fly that just landed on my foot. I love how flies rub their hands together before they bite you, as if they're about to have a nice meal or something. I don't know, I'm not the biggest fan of flies, but watching them rub their hands together, it's quite endearing. It makes me feel for them. It makes me feel a little bit of empathy before I swat the fly. Something about the sun today. It is extra hot. Somebody must have tossed it in the oven last night. Forgot to turn the thermostat down because we are sweating. We can feel the rays on the skin. The vitamin D feels absolutely fantastic. As we take one more breath here in the low lunge with side bend on the right side. Go ahead and swing that left arm down. Both hands come down to the mat, and then we're just going to switch sides. Low lunge on the left side now. If this is enough, you already know the deal. If you want that side bend though, you want that little bit of extra action. Left arm, left hand comes to the left hip. So take the right arm, raise it up towards the sky, and then reach it across and over the left side body here. Here you should be feeling a real nice stretch in the right side body, coming up the side of your thigh and really into your hip and your groin as you extend that arm up and over. All right, one more breath here in side lunge, and then we're going to get into our final pose before we call it on this lactic acid yoga flow. Letting the arms come down to the mat, swing those legs back behind you. Now coming down onto your belly. Now, we got options here. We're going to go into the bow pose. Now, if the full bow pose is too much for you, I'll invite you to do the half bow pose on each side. So full bow pose, you're just going to bend your legs in as you lay on your belly. You're going to reach your arms behind you. You're going to grab your right foot with your right arm or right hand, left foot with your left hand, and then you're essentially just going to pull yourself up by trying to extend your legs back to a straight position. That is inherently going to pull your hands up, pull your core up, create a nice gentle curvature in your spine. So this is what the bow pose looks like. If that's too much, I invite you to do the half bow pose. So in this instance, here you would be bringing your left forearm so that it is parallel to the front of your mat, and then you would be reaching behind, bending your right leg, and then grabbing your right foot with your right hand. Or is it the other way? No, yeah, we're doing it right. So you can do it this way, the half bow pose, and I'll give you a shout if you're doing the half, when is a good time to switch, or you can just meet us in the full bow. You know, this is the final stretch. We're not going to do it for too long, so no worries if you go full bow or if you go half bow, but whatever you're feeling to round out this lactic acid yoga flow. Just find your breath. Yep, you know it's about time to wrap up the flow once your body starts making fart noises on the mat from how much sweat is on there. So this is it. We're doing it. And if you're in that half bow pose, you can go ahead and switch to the other side. Just round it out with a few final breaths here. And then we will have melted all of the lactic acid within our bodies, hopefully, and we can continue on with whatever we have planned for this joyous day. As every day is joyous when we learn to appreciate the gift of life. And one more breath here in the bow pose. You can go ahead and release if you're in full, if you're in half. Letting those legs come down to the ground. Oh yeah, we did it. Maybe even mix in a little upward facing dog. Oh, that sensation in the low back, you just can't make it up. Sensations like you read about. All right, that's it. Thank you for joining me here in this, I don't even know how long we went for, lactic acid yoga flow. Hopefully you're feeling a little bit more loose. You're feeling a little bit more sore, a little bit less sore. Maybe a little bit of extra strength and mobility in those muscles, maybe dug into some of those deeper connective tissues, but whatever it may be, I hope you're able to take something away from today's yoga flow. And favorite grunge band of the 90s. I mean, that is widely considered the grunge era. It's just, this is it. This is maybe the most difficult question for me to answer. I mean, partially sarcastic, partially not, but you know, I love Nirvana. I'm wearing their shirt. I love Soundgarden, Chris Cornell. I love Smashing Pumpkins. I love Alice in Chains. Maybe a little bit of Silverchair. Maybe a little Stained. And the list goes on. But, you know, as much as I love all of these groups and, you know, I know them intimately well, I know their catalogs intimately well, I feel like it's an easy answer for me. I already referenced them earlier in this flow, but it's Pearl Jam. I don't know what it is about Eddie Vedder's voice, but it's magical. It brings me into the song. It brings me into the vibe. I connect with the lyrics. I find a way to connect with the lyrics and the sound. And whether it's a song that's going to get me amped, a song that is going to just make me feel good and feel happy and feel content, maybe a song that's going to allow me to feel a little sad or maybe experience some of my negative emotions, whatever it is. Pearl Jam and Eddie Vedder, they always seem to get the job done. They've got a song for every vibe. And that's it. My answer is Pearl Jam. Thank you again for joining this yoga flow. Hopefully, see you for the next one. Like, comment, subscribe if you're feeling it.